Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is July 24th, and we are on page 67 in your magazines, and today we are going to hear part 2 of that really interesting piece on tennis that we started yesterday, entitled Tennis Through Time.
And boy, oh boy, what an appropriate title. Yesterday we talked about some of the origins of tennis. We talked about some of the big events in tennis, and now, today, we'll learn about modern times.
And we ended with a sentence that mentioned the Grand Slam tournaments. I don't really know that many details about it. Maybe you can clarify it for some of us.
Sure, a Grand Slam is when a player wins all 4 major championships in one calendar year. There are 4 championships, one in Australia, one in France. There is Wimbledon in Britain, and of course the U.S., A Grand Slam has been achieved 6 times by 5 different players, including Maria Sharapova, who we will discuss today.
Okay, she's coming up soon, so tune in. Our title again is Tennis Through Time, Part 2. As with all sports, new tennis players are constantly coming on the scene, and older players are hanging up their rackets. One of the most recent retirees from the world of professional tennis is Maria Sharapova, who announced her retirement at the beginning of the year.
Born in 1987 in Siberian Russia, Sharapova began playing tennis at an early age, and by 9, she was training at an academy in Florida. She made her professional debut on her 14th birthday, though, due to her age, she was limited as to the number of professional events she could take part in each year. She quickly rose up the ranks, and at the age of 17, she won her first Grand Slam at Wimbledon when she upset defending champ Serena Williams. The following year, she made it to number 1 in the world rankings for the first time, a spot she would reach 5 separate times and keep for a total of 21 weeks. She went on to win the U.S. Open 2006, Australia Open 2008, and French Open 2012-2014. Her 2012 victory on the French Open's clay court earned her a career Grand Slam, a win in all 4 of the Grand Slams, making her the only Russian woman player to achieve that goal. A lingering shoulder injury, as well as a controversial doping ban in 2016, has cast a shadow over her career in recent years.
In addition to her tennis achievements, Sharapova has made a name for herself off the court. Modeling, designing, and launching the Sharapova candy line are just a few of the ways she has kept busy beyond tennis, and are some of the ventures she'll focus on now that she's retired. I find it really strange that a sports hero or champion would sell candy.
Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and at a time when we focus on healthier foods, the name of her candy is Sharapova. It's like flaunting its unhealthiness.
Yeah, I agree. Well, maybe it works for her. Back to the beginning. As with all sports, new tennis players are constantly coming on the scene, and older players are hanging up their rackets. We have some metaphors here.
So to come on the scene means to become well known, to be a new, fresh face. And here, hanging up their racket means to retire.
That's right. So it's very graphic. Graphic, Graphic. You know this word is a noun, maybe? Graphics on your webpage. Graphic just means that it creates a very sharp, clear, concrete image in your head. So she's not literally hanging up her racket. That's just symbolism. It's symbolic of not playing tennis professionally anymore. I wonder if she does it for fun. Or if somebody does it for fun who hangs up their racket.
Gosh, I really don't know. I was reading about her, and she was asked, do you think you would continue to play kind of just casually? And she said she expected by her age that she currently is. I think she's 35 or something, 33 or so.
Over the hill.
Yeah. She said she expected to have several children and be married to a nice husband by this time. I don't think she had a long life ambition. However, she is the 8th highest paid pro tennis player of all time, earning $135 million over her career. I don't think she needs to play it anymore.
Unless she really enjoys it. But some people might just give it up cold, and that's that. It's possible.
Several players have done that in tennis. I think it's difficult on your body, and as we saw, she has a lingering shoulder issue, so maybe playing is painful.
That's right. And also, like Agassi, he was forced into tennis by his father and always really angry at his father for that. So maybe he'll think, well, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, I read his book. You should read his autobiography. It's really worth reading, even if you're not into any kind of sports or tennis at all. Okay, read Andrea Agassi's book. Okay, so hanging up their rackets, retiring. One of the most recent retirees from the world of professional tennis is Maria Sharapova, who announced her retirement at the beginning of the year. She was very, very famous, and when somebody who has achieved so much retires, it's always kind of shocking because you think that's your whole life. How can you just stop?
Yeah, how do you ever walk away from this person? It's weird today because a lot of my students don't know who Michael Jordan is, who is probably the most well-known basketball player in the history of the NBA.
How can they not know him?
It's silly, isn't it?
And I don't follow sports.
Right. He has long become a household name, a lot like Maria Sharapova has, and Andrea Agassi. Right? Some people transcend their sport. Transcend means to go beyond it, and definitely Maria Sharapova and Michael Jordan have done it, but here we are in a world without them. Now, before we transition into paragraph 2, I thought we would step one more time in the past and learn about the unfortunate death of someone through tennis before we jump into the future.
Oh, that sounds really uplifting.
Uplifting.
We'll teach you the word uplifting. That's something that makes you very cheerful. UPLIFT. UPLIFTING, something that lifts you up, puts you in a cheery mood.
We just did not have time for this story yesterday when we mentioned the kind of decline of popularity of tennis in the late 18th century. So we're fitting it in here, and the story goes. Scotland's King James I was an early fan of tennis. This is when the early rackets were involved. And the idea of ball boys, the people who pick up the balls and bring them to the players, had not yet been thought of. And so James would really hit this ball. He would knock the ball, and they would fall into the sewer drains that surrounded the court. And so this annoyed him, digging them out of the sewer drain because it's dirty.
Yeah.
So being a king, he demanded that the sewer drain be immediately sealed, close them up. Just 3 days later, assassins broke into the castle to kill King James of Scotland.
Oh, because they came in through the sewers?
No, they actually scaled the walls.
Oh.
Following this idea, though, King James says he knows there's a secret exit through the sewers out of the castle. So he pulls up the floorboards and he dives into the sewers and he runs. And instead of finding piles of tennis balls, he now finds a sealed storm gate. There's nowhere to go. He needs to climb back out. And the assassins are waiting for him. And that's the end of King James I.
That's how he died.
That's how he died.
Oh
because
my
he,
gosh.
3 days previously, ordered the storm gates closed.
And so he was
such bad luck.
So he was deciding his own death.
Yeah, he at that time, annoyed at digging the balls out of the sewer drain, he sealed his own fate.
It does sound really gross. I can understand where he was coming from.
Let's move on to
pretty
paragraph 2
interesting
here.
story. Okay.
Thank you. Born in 1987 in Siberian Russia, Sharapova began playing tennis at an early age, and by 9, she was training at an academy.
In Florida.
In Florida. Thank you.
We'll leave that. Okay. So she got into tennis very early. I'm wondering if it was because of her parents. That often happens. And in Russia, when they want somebody to get good at something, they start early and they give you very, very intensive, often very harsh training. It takes up pretty much all of your time and energy. So she started early. It was by 9. It was before 9. So by the time she was 9, they had sent her to Florida in the U.S. That's in the U.S. Southeast. A lot of it's going to be underwater, probably not in the near future. And there was an academy that trained people specifically for tennis.
Just pretty much as Karen said, that Russians start young and go hard. Maria Sharapova's family worried about the effects of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant disaster from 1986. Although they didn't live terribly close, they worried about the regional effects, and so they moved. And Maria Sharapova's father later became friends with another Russian who had a son named Alexander Kolesnikov. Alexander would later go on to win 2 Grand Slam titles and became Russia's first world number 1 ranked tennis player. This boy gave Maria her very first tennis racket in 1991 when she was just 4 years old. And so, yes, just as you said, very young and worked very hard. Alexander's father was his coach and ensured that he would play and work very hard at it. She made her professional debut on her 14th birthday, though, due to her age, she was limited as to the number of professional events she could take part in each year.
When you hear about somebody doing something so big, so well at such a young age, all I think of is what in the world did she go through to get to this place?
It's pretty unbelievable that at 14 she was playing professionally on her 14th birthday, meaning she was probably good enough when she was 13. People often bring up, like, well, she lost that first match. She was playing professional tennis at 14. This is amazing. Yeah.
I don't want to think about it, but I'm glad that I wasn't put through something like that, and I certainly did not try to put my kids through something like that. You end up really famous and maybe rich, but I don't know if you're necessarily happy.
Here's a fun fact about Maria Sharapova. She holds the record for the loudest grunt. Her grunt was 105 decibels, and it took place at the 2009 Wimbledon Championship. A decibel is how we measure sound. What is 105 decibels? A garbage truck is 105 decibels. A helicopter at 100 feet is 105 decibels. A lawnmower and live rock music are all 105 decibels. Yeah. She was very loud.
I bet you could find it on YouTube if you looked it
That's
up.
That's right, 2009. That has to be on YouTube.
I don't know if I want to hear it, but now I'm a little curious. It's kind of morbid curiosity. Morbid, M-O-R-B-I-D, means having to do with death, but it's actually something that's very unhealthy. So it's an unhealthy kind of curiosity.
Let's continue here. She quickly rose up the ranks, and at the age of 17, she won her first Grand Slam at Wimbledon when she upset defending champ Serena Williams.
Wow. And that must have been a really, really big power match.
I think so. Yeah. Serena Williams is well known for her physical size, but Maria Sharapova, I always thought she was rather petite, which means smaller in body. No, she is 6'2". She is 1.88 meters. She's very tall.
I think women who are that tall really stand out. Occasionally, when I'm taking the MRT in Taipei, I will see a woman who's very tall.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just so striking to see a Taiwanese woman who's extremely tall. Seeing an extremely tall Taiwanese man is already distracting. But when you see a woman that tall, you think, oh my gosh, how do you get by? Because Taiwan is sort of designed for medium-sized people.
Right. I came across a foreign basketball team here one time in Taipei, and there were females, and I couldn't believe how tall people were. Right. Yeah. I had never really felt truly short as an adult man until that time.
Until that day. Okay, next sentence.
The following year, she made it to number 1 in the world rankings for the first time, a spot she would reach 5 separate times and keep for a total of 21 weeks.
Now that's kind of interesting because you have to work very, very hard and fight very, very hard to keep a place like this. If you're at the top, there are going to be a lot of other people who want to get to the top. So if you want to defend your spot up there, you're going to have to work awfully hard. And I'm thinking maybe some people might think, well, I've already gotten to the top. That's good enough. I don't have to fight so hard. But she really fought to stay there. And on 5 different times, she was number 1, and she held that spot for 21 weeks. That's kind of unheard of in a sport like tennis.
A ranking is a list of the best players, and we saw just 2 sentences ago, she quickly rose up the ranks, meaning she quickly went up on that list of top players.
Okay, we'll continue.
She went on to win the U.S. Open 2006, Australia Open 2008, and French Open 2012, 2014.
And that's pretty self-explanatory. So after that win, she won all of these other tennis open matches.
We'll learn why the French Open is an especially difficult accomplishment in our next sentence here. Her 2012 victory on the French Open's clay court earned her a career Grand Slam, a win in all 4 of the Grand Slams, making her the only Russian woman player to achieve that goal.
Okay, do you want to tell us any more about this?
Sure. So a clay court changes the way the ball will bounce. Those traditional early courts we talked about yesterday honestly, they were made of all sorts of materials. But the standard, especially at Wimbledon, became grass, I believe, and they cut it to like 8 millimeters in perfect height.
Goodness.
And they're very, very exacting about it. The French Open still uses a clay court, and it has that pretty red color.
Yes.
And it alters the way it bounces. So if you are preparing for the French Open, you need to find a clay court and practice on it. Otherwise, your traditional style of play will make you lose.
Yes, I can't even imagine playing on grass because I have only played on clay courts and maybe asphalt, but I suppose they're mostly clay. Clay has the advantage of it's sort of soft. It isn't as hard as rock, and so you just have to get used to how the ball bounces off of it. Yeah, that must have been a transition.
Our next sentence says, a lingering shoulder injury, as well as a controversial doping ban in 2016, has cast a shadow over her career in recent years.
We hear this with so many sports heroes, and it's sort of easy to understand how it happens because once you're at the top, your goal is to stay at the top. You want to win no matter what. Anybody, when you want to win no matter what, that means that you will do whatever it takes to win. And for many things like in business and politics, it means taking bribes, being corrupt, because you want to win and you want to get done what you want to get done. In sports, it will often mean taking drugs that will help you build muscle and become stronger so you actually get an unfair advantage over people who are not taking the drugs.
Just out of curiosity, when you think of doping bans, taking certain drugs to enhance your physical shape, what's the player you think of?
Lance Armstrong.
That's 100% who I was thinking. If you are interested in a long interview, and I believe there's a Chinese version of this, look up his name on YouTube, Lance Armstrong, Lance. His last name is Armstrong, Armstrong.
He
Then
has a
type
very
in
strong arm.
JRE. There's this long format, the Joe Rogan Experience, where he talks very candidly, this means to be very open, about his experience and why he chose to do it. He does not hide behind any oh no, I didn't really do it. He admits.
At that point,
Yes,
for a long
that's
time,
right.
he did
That's right.
deny it, and everybody was trying to defend him. There were fans. How could you say this? This guy who survived cancer, he's a hero, and he built on that. He manipulated it for a long time.
And he owns it. He says, here's why I did it. I'm not excusing it. I'm here to tell you exactly why I lied about it. And it's really fascinating to see the mind of a top competitor, why they would choose to do this, why they would continue to lie, and he's extremely honest about it. If anything, it gave me a new respect despite his
years of lying.
Yes. For a person to lie and to hurt so many people through his lie, why? And it's a beautiful interview. And something else you talk about, that everybody defended Lance Armstrong. This guy's a hero. When Maria Sharapova was banned for 15 months ultimately, very few players came to her defense. Very few. In fact, many of them were very open in attacking her because of some, I guess she didn't get on well with many other players. And they suspected that something wasn't right with her. And they were not shy about plunging the dagger.
So if you're not nice to people along the way,
Right.
you can expect to get attacked when you are vulnerable. Vulnerable means that it's easy for other people to hurt or attack you. So VULNER, ABLE, VULNER. A-B-L-E, when you're vulnerable. That means when you're weak and people can easily attack you. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I wonder if it has anything to do with her being a woman. And also, she wasn't a cancer survivor, for another thing. And she probably didn't have this whole, public relations, this PR machinery that would protect her.
Well, Nike definitely canceled her contract immediately. Ferrari suspended her contract. She lost several others. Female players attacked her, and what I thought was interesting, there were a lot of men that she never played with were eager to jump on the bandwagon, so to speak. They were, from what I read, is that she had very poor relationships with several players for some reason, and this was a moment of shame, and they were all too willing to kind of express their displeasure, which shocked me.
This will happen in absolutely any field. I've seen it happen in my own experience, my own work experience, of somebody who performed well but was not promoted because this person didn't get along well with the others. So be nice to people on the way up.
Yeah.
Okay. Our last paragraph. In addition to her tennis achievements, Sharapova has made a name for herself off the court.
This means you become popular, not just for her tennis, but also for her other kind of endeavors, for her other work that she took part in outside of her normal job.
And once you are famous, once you're a celebrity, you can use that to make a lot of money doing all kinds of things. For example, next sentence, modeling, designing, and launching the Sharapova candy line are just a few of the ways she has kept busy beyond tennis and are some of the ventures she'll focus on now that she's retired. When they say some of the ways she has kept busy, it's kind of an understatement. They're making it sound like, oh, she has a lot of time, so she's just kind of playing around. Obviously, she's working very hard at it as a new career.
Now, we made a little joke earlier about Sharapova. It's odd that a professional sports athlete would support candy. And we talked about Michael Jordan earlier. I recall his McDonald's spots where he was taking a big bite of a Big Mac. And it's like, but you're an athlete. Do you really eat this? And the answer was no. They would bite the hamburger. They'd say cut, and he'd spit the hamburger out. It's like, of course I don't eat this.
But that's kind of serious. Actually, one hamburger won't hurt you.
To be fair, for Maria Sharapova, she donates all profits of her Sharapova candy to her charity. I don't know if she makes any money as the founder of the charity, but she does donate it, and that's pretty cool.
I wonder if she was going to donate it to somebody that gives people counseling on diet and exercise. Okay, we're going to go to our questions. Now we have 4 short questions. The first one you need the magazine for because they got a bunch of pictures here. The question is, Bill is at Wimbledon and is looking for something sweet to eat. According to the day 1 passage, what will Bill's dessert most likely be? Well, actually, you don't have to look at the pictures if you listened yesterday because Chris and I were both drooling over what people get served, namely
strawberries and cream, letter D.
Oh, my mouth is watering again.
Although that choco pie in letter B is pretty appetizing, too. I like choco pie.
I definitely go for the strawberries and cream. Just the strawberries would be fine. Number 2, what impact did Louis X of France have on tennis? And our answer here is C. He created an indoor playing court. Okay.
Number 3, what does upset most likely mean in the second paragraph of the day 2 passage?
Well, here are our choices, and you can figure it out. A, knocked down. B, unexpectedly defeated. C, pushed over. D, spiritually supported. When you see upset, or as a noun, we say upset. Upset means a defeat or a win. Then you know that somebody won or lost. So B, unexpectedly defeated is the right answer.
And finally, number 4, which of the following is not mentioned about Sharapova's career?
And the answer is B, the amount of money she has earned. I'm expecting it was quite a bit.
Yep, $135 million as an athlete, although she's only the world's 8th richest tennis player. Number 1 being, his name's a little difficult, Ian Triak at over $2 billion, one of his side careers.
$2 billion?
That's right. From his career money, he opened a private bank and became incredibly wealthy.
That's a lot of pocket change. Okay, that's it for today. Please